And now that the timer is going, we're ready to go.
We are ready to rock.
And you be Tom Stenzel.
And you be Joe Lair with
HighCountrySpeakers.com. Yep. Number 2 try. We got some pretty good feedback on the first one.
I know.
Some personal friends took a look at it, gave us some feedback, and said, keep going. So we're going to keep going.
And you guys out there listening and watching, more feedback.
Yeah, more feedback.
Keep it coming.
Better. It's really important. It's like, without feedback, we don't know what the topics are you want to cover, what the topics are that you think are fun, not fun. Because we're just going to do what we want to do. And may not necessarily be what you want to hear.
So I'll throw this out there because we talked yesterday about what are we going to, play around with today. And, the topic of martial arts came up.
Yes.
And we're wrestling around with an idea. What's better than martial arts? A term I've used for a long time is martial arts in the marketplace. And that's the best I could do. That's what I texted you. So I'm going to throw that out there to you guys. If you see or hear something that you like, give us another idea of what might work. What do you want to hear about, in that genre?
Because it's real important to learn, especially flexibility. To really learn how to be flexible with the people that you're working with.
Absolutely.
I'm a property manager for 20 years now for the properties that I do manage. And I deal with a wide variety of people. And sometimes it's really hard to be flexible enough and yet do my job.
Well, I'm in the hotel industry. Similar. We deal with people who are living with us, whether it's for a day or two or for years.
Yeah.
And whenever we get somebody under our roof, we get the whole enchilada of life. And I have employees as well. I've got anywhere from 15 to 20 employees that I get to be flexible with. You had an issue this morning. You said you got to practice.
I did. It was literally left my office to come here and, for about an hour, I had a guy in my office that was very, very angry. And I wouldn't say very, very angry. He was very, very frustrated. Because anger is different to me. Frustration is just, I'm not happy. I really want my way, and I'm not happy. Anger is just belligerence to me.
Yeah.
And he wasn't belligerent at all. He was just frustrated.
You've got the time. You've got the asphalt under your tires to deal with this. And this is not the first time it's happened.
No, sir.
But what about the first time it happened?
It was embarrassing. It was a person came in almost the same situation where they were just unhappy and very frustrated, and I was a bully. I literally just took out the rule book of what I deal with and just started beating them with the rule book. And it was just, I beat them with it, and it was so negative, the interaction I had with that person. And they're still living in the properties I manage today, 20 years later. We do get along, but it took me 5 years of reparation to get that relationship back where it needed to be, because I was so mean with just, it's my way, I don't care, don't want to listen, fulfill your obligation, or get the heck out. And stupid.
One of my, I'm not new to Facebook, but I'm new to using it much more, and I've been reading a lot of nice stuff, a lot of old cliches. Still, there's some nice new gems that come through.
Yep.
And one of the latest ones that came through, I actually printed it off and posted it behind my desk today. And for some of you out there, you may have heard this before, and if not, I think it's appropriate to where we're going with this, is politeness today is so rare that when it's done, it's seen as flirting or coming on to people.
Yeah, that's probably true.
And I went, yes. I even got a chance to talk to a couple of staff about that, young people, about being nice. And I don't see that. And I said, I'm going to segue to another thing that's very related to this. One of the questions I asked my staff from the get-go, and I asked them again 6 months later, if they're still with me another 6 months, who's your customer?
Yeah.
And they go, well, okay, it's the guest. It's the customer who pays. And I go, okay, that's partially right. Keep going. And most of them stop there. And you know what the answer is to that?
Yeah, it's everybody.
Everybody.
Everybody that walks in the door, no matter who it is.
And when I see that, when I look at martial arts in the marketplace, I see everybody, you included, as my training partner. And I've been a martial artist for 35 plus years. And it's taken me a long time to understand that, but everybody is my training partner, like my customer. I get an opportunity to go back and forth, to harmonize, ebb and flow.
Yeah. Flexibility is really, really important, the ebb and flow.
Yeah, yeah. And one of the things is giving space. One of the things we talk about in martial arts is distance. So distance is physical in martial arts, but there's another thing, psychological distance, emotional distance.
Difference.
It's different for everybody. One of the things I learned from one of my mentors was be careful about walking on other people's words.
Yeah.
Which means give them the time to say what they want. Let them get it all out and just be there for them. Yeah. And it's much like training. Let them come at me. Embrace it. I always like to say, encourage what's happening, or accept what's happening, excuse me. Accept everything.
Yep.
Encourage it, and then take it over. Because I can become their ally. It's not like I get in control, but we're able to become allies in that situation, whatever
And
it is.
I guess I want to stay with your point, and for people that are kind of wondering what we're talking about is, I really encourage you to go to like a YouTube video
Yeah.
of anything Jackie Chan, because you're going to see how it's like Jackie Chan choreograph. Because every fight scene, martial art wise, in any martial art movie is always choreographed. And that's what we're talking about, is what is the distance, what is the ebb and flow of that conversation. Because in anything that's choreographed, it has to be, the punch has to get thrown, or the sword has to come down, and then as it's being finished, then the person can start to react to the next thing.
Yeah.
And that's what I was unwilling to do when I talked about the first time it happened. I wasn't willing to let that person talk.
Yeah.
They would start to talk, and I would just beat them with the rule book.
Yeah.
And they were so angry because they just wanted to be heard. That's all they wanted, just to be heard.
All people do.
Yeah.
All people do.
And that kind of goes back probably to your flirting, to be tied into that, is being nice is also listening. And to listen, you've got to hear them.
Well, that's another thing we talk about in martial arts, is this Japanese word called zanshen, which means attention. It's paying attention to everything that's going on. You know, it's much like one of my staff, who's also an ROTC student, is taught by the rule book, by the way. So rule books are good.
They're good. They're always good.
To always open the door for people.
Yeah.
Be it male or female. And when we were talking about that, he says, yeah, you know, when I gave him that quote, you know, about politeness, he says, yeah, I get that. You know, I open these doors to these pretty women, you know, and they go, oh, he's coming on to me.
Yeah.
And he's not.
No.
He says, yeah, you know, I'd like to date that person, but that's not what he's doing it for.
Nope.
Just to be nice.
And respectful.
Yeah.
And polite. And it's so weird, because it's like, I've taught my kids to do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
That if you're walking ahead of somebody, open the door for them. If you see someone coming out the door, open that door, let them out, then you go in. It's just respectful. And when you and I were down in Los Angeles, back during Memorial Week, you know, was what, like 8 months ago?
Yeah.
It was so fun to watch how the politeness of the mountain area versus the politeness of the city was so. We were talking to people on the bus, it was crowded, and people were like, you're talking to us. You shouldn't be doing it.
We had that one colorful lady.
Yeah.
We talked to her for what, 15, 20 minutes on the bus ride.
All she wanted to be was heard.
Yeah. And she carried on wonderfully.
Talked very well.
That was fun.
Yeah, and it's just fun to watch how when people are just, they're going to listen to me. They're going to hear my story.
And when you said they watched us, you know, and you initiated that, which is really cool. We got into it, and then the energy started going out.
Yep.
Other people started paying attention, and a few people I remember I joined in and talked, and it was really this little crowd up in the front, you know, the people in the back couldn't.
Yeah.
But I noticed they were kind of watching what was going on.
They were.
But you see how we can infect in a good way.
And that's
Other
all about
people.
that martial arts. It's just paying attention to what's going on around us and knowing that we can be the change that is going to be initiated. And especially, you know, some of my job besides the property manager is sales. You know, I am in charge of selling stuff. And I gotta be enough of a person that I can hear what people are saying so that I can know whether or not I need to be selling them something, if I need to just shoot them on or ship them on to somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because it's so important to be aware of what's going on, you know, the flexibility and the awareness of what's going on around us.
And to bring the basics back into that, one of the foundations of Aikido, the martial art that I practice, is we always stick with the foundations.
Yep.
That really forms the basis of everything we do. Even after 35 years, it's the basic technique. It's always found within the technique. And when we stay with this politeness and kindness, in everything as a foundation, it seems to fall together. But the challenge, I think, today is that we don't find it all the time. The reason I'm saying this, I gave a young mentee of mine the opportunity to list some real estate from another good friend of mine. And I just sat down with him the other day and gave him feedback of the transaction. He thought he had it nailed just by that. You know, so he's 25, 28 years old. And my friend's, you know, our age. And he treated them like a beginner, like he's never sold a house. And he pretty much went in control. He never asked them to set up a relationship first, to set the tone. He went right to the juggler.
Yep.
And God bless my good friend is that he's still going to use him, but he actually gave him, well, he busted his chops, is what he did. And then we talked.
Took him to school.
Took him to school, yeah. Because, you know, I want this young man to succeed. And I had to talk with him about this. And he recognized, much to give him credit, everything he had done. And he realized that part of his industry is like that. And that's what I'm saying, is that when we get in the world and stay in the world, I think we can lose sight of those basic techniques that form those foundations.
Yeah. And that's why, you know, I love going to the city. It's so much fun for me. I love the experience. I love the culture. I love everything about it. Because it's so in your face. And it's fun because I don't need to join it. I can just be a part of it and just watch it. But it's amazing to watch. Like you're going, you know, it's like that lady that was sitting by us really was frustrated with what was going on in the back of the bus. And was hyper aware of that. And it was like, she was going to create a problem. And it's like, the only thing I could think of was like, you know, wow, you have a really big, you know, suitcase. What are you just coming from the plane, going home? And you know, it's like I just asked her a couple of questions, diffused what her, you know, what she was paying attention to, and then the third question was, you know, why are you carrying such a huge suitcase then if you're just going somewhere downtown? And it's like, well, I'm going to be on the street performing. I'm a street performer. And it's like, got the dam broken. But it's like that awareness of what's going on.
Distraction.
Yeah.
That's one of the rules in martial arts, in Aikido. In order for me to perform a technique, I need to distract my attacker from doing what they're doing just for enough time to make my move. And customer service, just like you did. It's amazing. You know, you said that. I've done that with complaints at my hotel. You know, let them talk. Let them bring it all out and be listened to and heard. And I know a lot of you probably use this technique. And if you don't, give it a try. I ask them, I'm really sorry for this. What would it take to make this right? That's that simple. You know, I don't know how I stumbled across it. Somebody recognized it. It just came to me from listening to other people. And I remember the first couple of times I used it.
Their faces.
Oh, huh? And I don't do this because of the track pattern or the pattern that it's set up. But normally what happens is I end up giving them a lot less than I'm prepared to do. And I would give them a free room if that's what it took. But I ask them, what would it take?
Yeah.
And sometimes, it's nothing.
Yeah, it's
They
just
I
want
said,
to be heard.
Yeah, and that's it, be heard.
And that's like, I'll use the same thing. It's like people come in, and I know usually when they're coming in and why they're coming in. It's not a surprise.
Yeah.
Once in a while, it is a surprise, and that's the one thing I have to pay attention to. It's like when someone comes in and they're really angry, and I don't know about it. I don't know what's going on, and it's like those things could go on for an hour.
Yeah.
And it's like I've learned I want to hear them, and it's like, in the next 10 minutes that I have before I need to get back to work, because we can meet for 10 minutes because it's an unscheduled appointment, is what are the top 3 things? What are the top 2 things? What's the number 1 complaint? I only have enough time to do that right now. And then write me a letter so you can fill it in, and fill in the rest. But it's like, set the tone, take control of the situation enough so they can just, get out what they need to get out and diffuse it enough so that it doesn't escalate into something worse.
And, it's staying in the driver's seat is what you're saying.
Yes.
And when I ask the guest, that was a form of distraction of asking the guest, the customer, what would it take? It boils down to be paradoxical communications. That's something I learned a long time ago. It's that, it's kind of like asking a kid, would you like to take out the trash or wash the dishes first? It's giving them a choice, but not a choice.
Yep.
Very simple. With the guest, I'm asking them because I'm prepared to do something, but it gives them the opportunity to choose, what their choice is going to be.
Yep.
It's very simple. But the other thing, and another thing we talk about in martial arts, and I think even in the marketplace, is how many of you out there are staying centered? And I think single one of you understands what I mean. You understand what I mean.
Yes, I do.
It's not only, it's being physically centered and strong, but emotionally centered and balanced. To be able to take what's coming and to be prepared to be solid in all those situations. It's a challenge because a lot of times we can be bowled over by that energy that comes at us.
And it's not always pleasant, so you got to be able to let it, wash over you like the water or the wave.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a month. What do they call those big, tidal wave? It's
What, tsunami?
Tsunami.
Yeah.
It's like taking out control of what's going on in that situation. That it's important.
A guy I listened to that comes to mind a long time ago said, that big tsunami was a 2004 down there in the South Pacific. They talked, and this might be anecdotal. It's not necessarily a quote was saying that. And it happens in other places. The animals break loose of their chains and head to high ground.
Yep.
Isn't that interesting? They sense something is happening. And somehow we as humans have lost that.
Yeah.
Instead, those people are going out into the ocean thinking, oh, this isn't as cool. And all of a sudden, the tsunami comes and washes over them. So we have the ability, if we practice these principles, to be prepared and perhaps to really sense what's coming. If evidenced by the sound of the footsteps, by the tone of the voice, we get ready.
Yep. And it's really going to help because it's like, part of my job is sales. Part of my other job is just, being there for a transition. And some of those transitions are easy and some of those transitions are hard. I have two our people our age that their mom and dads were living in the places where I was working, and it's like they have passed on. And it's very emotional, and it's like, I like those people. They were part of my life for 15 years. And it's really sad to see that transition happen, but it's part of my job. And to let that just be part of my job, not part of my story, and let it go, because I knew him for 15 years, but I didn't know him that well, and it's really sad, but it's like, acknowledging the person's pain, acknowledging the I'm sorry, this is going on, this is not fun, a lot of stress, and I'm sorry. And how to help people through that and be a help rather than a hindrance to the whole process.
Right. And we can't help everybody all the time.
No, we can't.
we talk about this martial arts thing. Sometimes we have to throw the person to the ground metaphorically, or physically if it's a self-defense situation.
Yep.
Sometimes I have to fire my customer. Yep. Sometimes I have to fire my staff.
Yep.
And that goes back to being centered enough to be able to handle that in the situation that demands it.
We're in a market today in this area where, you know, I called the staffing company. I need some people to help me clean out something, and there's nobody available.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, wow, you know, that's where we're at. And it's like, I'm looking at a couple of, you know, situations, it's like, you know, there may need to be some staffing situations, and it's willingness to say, this is the performance that you're at. This is the performance that I expect. And I need you here. I don't need you down here, watching YouTube, watching your phone, watching videos on the computer. I need you performing the task that I'm assigning, and will you please do it? And give them the warning, give them the chance, and then just let them go. Because it's, you know, I love that quote about no one literally rises to low expectations.
No.
And our expectations need to be there. And when I was with this person a little bit ago, it's like, I understand, I hear you, I know you're frustrated, but the expectation is this needs to happen. And it's either you do this or you don't, and if you don't, you know, we're gonna end up in court. And he said, well, I'd love to go to court with you. And it's like, sir, you have to understand, I'm 20 years into my job. If I'm going to court with you, I don't lose. You know, my firm ice is very firm. I don't like to lose. I've never lost.
Yeah.
My boss has been adamant, you know, that when we get to the situation where I met with this person, you know, every I's dotted, every T's crossed. The rules have been followed, and the expectation is performance or we're gone.
Yeah.
And he wrote the check, and you know, I know him well enough to know the check is fine, but like you said, it's time to just, I'm so sorry, we need to do this, and there is no way out except this.
Now that's being centered. That is knowing your foundation, and you're standing on it. You know, I've told my staff, and I do this, I say I have a long leash with my staff. I mean, there's been things my staff has done, other than the times when something has been unethical or illegal, you know, there's no second chance.
No, there's none.
But with other things that maybe it would get them fired in another job, I give them a second and sometimes a third chance.
Yeah.
Because they're young, they don't understand it, or they've just done something stupid. It's kind of like that kid in the news that said, you know, don't fire that guy. Remember that little kid who plays
it was
baseball?
moaning, moaning.
Yeah.
And she said, don't fire him because he called me a name. It's like, don't do it because I'm sure he's very, very apologetic and sad.
That kid's got a black belt in whatever.
Yes.
That is amazing.
12 years old, and she can be that astute and that aware of who she is. It's just incredible. What a wonderful woman she is.
That's what I think we need more of, because I think most everybody on the planet has got so much potential.
Yep.
And it's like giving them the opportunity to learn from their mistakes instead of creating a black mark on their record.
Yep, and raise that bar.
Yeah, yeah.
And I agree I understand what the school said, which is that we can't allow someone of that caliber using those words, public situation, public media, but there's also got to be grace. I mean, I understand they're a nationally ranked school. I understand he's the pitcher, he's the lead. It's like the quarterback. You know, they're the one that sets the tone, but it's also the school's choice to say, yeah, you know, we did do that, and now that we understand what's going on, you know, there's probably some more personal issues inside of that young man that's going on that we don't know about, but it's like, you know, where is the grace that we can say, you know what, let's try it, but you understand, no tolerance. You can't be that way. I understand. It's, you know, it kind of comes back to that OU bus ride when those guys were doing that chant. The Sigma Alpha Epsilon fraternity was doing the chant, and it's like that is 100% unacceptable, and they need to be dealt with immediately.
Yeah.
And to just be chanting that alone is just beyond belief.
And there is a middle ground in those things, not for the fraternity so much, that pretty much
Yeah.
takes the cake on that.
Yeah.
But, matter of fact, I think we'll have to approach this next time because
Okay.
we're out of time.
Yep.
The
But
timer's
it's
going
like-
off.
The timer's going off, so we can like wrap up. What are the points we made? Which is flexibility,
Flexibility,
centeredness,
centeredness, distance,
distance,
okay?
and just learning those traits and
Yeah.
work on your public speaking. But I am Joe Lair.
And I'm Tom Stenzel.
We're part of highcountryspeakers.com. You can reach us through the website. You can reach us through this YouTube website, through my Facebook account where this will show up, my blog. You can interact with us very easily through those areas.
And we look forward to your feedback as soon as you can get it to us.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.